Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Reading back to when I was young, I can still picture my sitting in my dad's study and getting that feeling of excitement because I thought it was important when I was in that room. The room had its own atmosphere to it that gave me the chills every time. I always felt like I was of high status sitting there watching him work on the computer. He had pictures of my brother and me all over his desk, but he had one picture that I just didn't recognize. I wasn't sure how to approach him about the picture without coming off the wrong way. One day, I got the guts to ask him, and that day forever changed my outlook on being inside his office. I no longer had the same feeling inside that office. As I gathered the courage to ask my dad about the picture upon his desk, I began to think of who it may be. I didn't want my question to come off in the wrong way because I didn't know what it meant to him. I wanted to ask him in the most open-ended way, and when he took off his glasses and turned his monitor away, I was terrified. The mood in the room instantly changed, and there was a serious look on his face. At that moment, I then realized who was in the picture. It was my grandfather. As a young boy, my parents had told me that my grandfather had passed away before I was born, but I never knew how it happened. I instantly felt bad about asking who was in the picture, because I should have known who it was. I knew he was going to tell me the story of his death, and I wasn't sure that I was ready to hear it. He started off by comparing himself to his father and how they were so identical. He was on his way home from work one day on a beautiful afternoon. My grandfather drove an old, red Chevy pickup that had its fair share of issues. He had been very busy lately with a lot on his mind. He crossed over those tracks every day going to and coming home from work. He never had troubles at those tracks, as the levers would have always come down when they were supposed to. There had never been any instances of problems at that spot until that day. My grandfather was a very cautious man and always made sure to look left and then right before he crossed the tracks, even though the levers were supposed to stop him. Those 2 glances weren't enough. It required a third look. The instant he made it onto the tracks, he would have heard and seen the train coming straight for him. Odds are he froze in the moment when his truck stalled in the middle of the tracks. There would have been a loud crash, and the car was sent off into the nearby ditch. He was announced dead at the scene, with death on impact. He passed away at a very young age, in his mid to late 30s, and my dad was too young to lose a parent. Even to this day, I'm still terrified when it comes to crossing the tracks, even if they are not in use anymore. If I'm driving, I come to a complete stop before crossing, and make sure to look multiple times. I'm constantly looking up and down the tracks as I approach them too. They have forever been one of my biggest fears, just due to the fact that it took someone so dear to the family and someone that I never got to meet. This is an accident that I would wish upon no one. I'd give anything to meet my grandfather just once and be able to talk to him. There's nothing I can do, and I've grown up knowing only one grandfather. He would have been a great influence on my life if he is as much like my dad as he says he was. Trains are not used nowadays, and not something that people are usually scared of. Every fear has a backstory, and crossing tracks will always be my deepest and darkest fear.